Good evening. Welcome to the October 17th Wheat Ridge Planning Commission. May we have a roll call of the members?
Ann Brinkman.
Present.
Alan Bucknam.
Present.
Steve Timms.
Here.
Scott Ohm, absent. Richard Matthews.
Here.
Amanda Weaver.
Here.
Tracy Gildner, absent. And Monica Duran, absent.
May we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have approval of the order of tonight's agenda?
I move to approve the order of the agenda.
A second.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Lost
Lost a light.
a light. May we have approval of the minutes of September 19th, 2013?
I move to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2013 meeting.
Second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 3-0, with 2 abstentions, Matthews and Brinkman.
Thank you. Now is the time for the public forum. This is the time for anybody to speak on a case not on tonight's agenda. Is anybody signed up? Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on a case not on tonight's agenda? Okay. Then we will leave the public forum and open the public hearing with case number WS-13-02, an application filed by Richard Wunslager for a major subdivision plat for a townhouse development on property zoned mixed-use neighborhood, MU-N, located at 5670 West 38th Avenue.
Good evening. I'm wondering if, thank you. Thank you. Good evening. For the record, Meredith Reckert, Wheat Ridge Community Development Department, and I am here to present case number WS-13-02, which is a request for approval of a 26-lot major subdivision at 5670 West 38th Avenue. Area of the site is 1.4 acres. It's currently zoned mixed-use neighborhood, and the comprehensive plan designates it as Main Street Corridor. With me at the staff table is my colleague Mark Westberg, who is in the Engineering Division of Public Works. I'd like to enter into the record the case file and packet materials, zoning ordinance, and the contents of this digital presentation. The property is located within the city of Wheat Ridge, and all appropriate noticing and publishing requirements have been met. Therefore, the Planning Commission does have jurisdiction to hear this case. And I would note that because this is a major subdivision, Planning Commission will be making a recommendation to City Council, who is the final authority in this matter. So, this is a 2012 aerial of the property. It does contain about 1.4 acres and is currently vacant. At the southwest corner of 38th and Depew Street, you can see that Depew runs along the eastern perimeter with 38th Avenue along the north side. And in 2002, the city did install some streetscape improvements at the corner of the property. In this area and also along the 38th Avenue frontage. Those improvements included a corner feature with patterned concrete, decorative bollards, and a planting area with trees and shrubs. Also in the landscape strip along 38th Avenue was the installation of irrigation sod and street trees. And I will have a better picture of that so you can see that in a little bit. In 2002, the property was rezoned, I believe, from restricted commercial to planned mixed-use development. There was a zoning document and a plat approved for the site to allow for a mixed-use building with about 5,000 square feet of retail on the bottom floor with condominiums on the top of that, and then a series of row houses for a total of 20 residential units, and then the mixed-use building. However, development did not occur at that time. The next picture I have is also the 2012 aerial. It's really hard to see with the zoning lay over it, but the site is located in this area. 38th Avenue is up here on the north side, Depew Street running along the eastern perimeter. And again, the intent of this is to show the existing zoning in the area, and it's somewhat of a hodgepodge. To the south, the orangish area designates R3 zoning, and on the eastern side of Depew Street, sort of that gray ochre stands for planned residential development. Both those properties are developed as multifamily, I believe built in the 1960s and 70s. Further to the east, we've got some additional mixed-use neighborhood zoning, which includes retail, some restaurant uses, and on the north side, we've got sort of a mix of residential with primarily mixed-use neighborhood, and again, some R3 at the northern intersection of Depew and 38th Avenue. And with regard to the darker bluish color, that does represent the mixed-use neighborhood zoning. That was applied to the property as part of the city-initiated mass rezoning in late of 2012. So our mixed-use zoning districts are a fairly new animal that we're dealing with right now. We adopted 4 different mixed-use zoning districts in 2010 after some very deliberate and intensive process we went through that included a lot of outreach to all the different stakeholders involved and also some education. Many of the guiding documents that were approved previously sort of pointed us in that direction, and those documents included the neighborhood revitalization strategy that was approved in 2005. With the intent of that document to make Wheat Ridge once again a community of choice, attracting strong households and encouraging property investment. Envision Wheat Ridge, which is the city's comprehensive plan, was adopted in 1998, and again, there was intent in there to promote vibrant neighborhoods with an array of housing options to not only attract new households, but also to meet the changing needs of the citizenry in Wheat Ridge. Also to promote revitalization investment in key corridors, one of which was 38th Avenue, which is designated as being the city's main street. So why did we think that the mixed-use zoning was a good fit? Well, again, like I say, we went through a fairly extensive process that included stakeholders from property owners to business owners to residents, our boards and commissions, Wheat Ridge 2020, with the intent to sort of step away from the way we'd done zoning in the past, which was primarily by a plan development type of process, which was very labor intensive, very costly for the applicant, so we wanted to streamline the entitlement process, make it more predictable, and then also have, instead of having negotiated plan developments, we would get entitlements in place in the way of zoning and then allow administrative review based on some really strong design guidelines. Also, because of the fact that Wheat Ridge is essentially landlocked, we don't have a lot of vacant parcels, we believe that the mixed-use zoning allowed more efficient use of space with higher structures and densities in certain areas. Some of the mixed-use features include less focus on the automobile with increasingly more pedestrian and transit-oriented types of development, again, because the city's primarily built out to allow for more compact development with again, higher densities and taller buildings where appropriate, of course. Also included reduced parking and landscaping requirements, and then just as with our existing commercial zones, we didn't specify any minimum lot sizes. So a lot of flexibility, a lot more predictability for the developer. So let's take a look at some slides. This first picture was taken looking northwest across the property. I was standing at the very southeast corner on Depew Street looking towards 38th Avenue. This is looking north on Depew. You can see there's an existing curb walk and one big tree. This is actually looking at the northeast corner of 38th and Depew, and in this area you can see the landscaping that was part of what was installed with the 2002 streetscape program. Now I'm standing adjacent to those streetscape elements looking southwest, so you can see on the left-hand side of the image the existing multifamily that it directly abuts to the south. A little closer view of that looking south on Depew. Again, this slide also shows the images of some of the existing multifamily that continues most of the way down Depew Street. And then this is looking east along 38th Avenue towards, again, looking towards the east, and you can see the 6-foot wide tree lawn and the separated sidewalk, also pedestrian lights and street trees installed. So with that, let's take a look at the plat. The plat document you're looking at tonight is 3 sheets. This first sheet is what I call the declaration page, which includes typically a legal description, all the required signature blocks for city dignitaries and the owners, recording information and notes. We typically include in notes standard language regarding easements and detention pond maintenance. And there's also a note included that references the maintenance of the common elements in the development. This is the second sheet, which is essentially the heart and soul of the plat document. It does contain the layout of the subdivision, and just to help orient you, north is to the top, so 38th Avenue is along this perimeter, and then Depew Street running along the south side. The plat does depict 26 parcels, which will accommodate the 26 new residential units. The hatched area on the drawing does designate an internal loop roadway, which does provide internal circulation and allows only access to 2 points along Depew Street, one further up at the north and one at the south. Although there's currently, I think, 2 curb cuts to 38th Avenue, there will be no access with the proposed redevelopment. The lot lines for the lots do overlap into the access easement for the looped driveway. And this particular roadway into the development will be privately owned and maintained, and again is a 20-foot easement. And we would like to review the Homeowners Association covenants because there's a lot of common elements in this particular development. Most of the landscaping, the exterior of the units, the loop driveway, and the detention pond area all will be maintained by the Homeowners Association. So the staff would like to take a look at those documents just to make sure we've got everything in place before development. The plat also provides for pedestrian linkages from the interior of the site out to 38th Avenue. So we've got one right in here and another one here to allow folks within the development to kind of cut through the development instead of having to go around on the sidewalks. And these easement areas will be improved with concrete walking service and landscaping. Tract A, which is in the middle of the property, will accommodate the storm water detention area as well as serve as an open space amenity for the development. And again, there's a lot of common elements in the particular development, and the HOA will be responsible for maintenance of those elements. This is the third sheet, which essentially serves as a vacation page to vacate all the old lot lines and the easements which were dedicated with that 2002 proposal, and you can see those are all laid out. There was also a sanitary sewer easement which was dedicated kind of after the fact by a separate instrument. Wheat Ridge Sanitation asked that they have specific language included on the front page of the plat and would include a signature block for the sanitary sewer district. As typical, we sent the proposal out on referral with the following responses. Renewal Wheat Ridge has indicated that both the plat and the proposed development are consistent with the urban renewal plan. Wheat Ridge Sanitation conserved the property, but also has that easement, existing main line easement, which must be vacated. No concerns from the police department. Wheat Ridge Fire District has requested that the interior drive be maintained as a fire lane and that they will need additional hydrants and service lines through the property. Wheat Ridge Police can serve, as can Xcel Energy. Wheat Ridge Public Works has reviewed both the plat and a drainage plan and report, and have reviewed, approved all of those documents. Now, as Planning Commission is aware, anytime we have a residential subdivision, there is a requirement for dedication for parks and recreation needs to accommodate those new citizens that will be moving in. In 2002, when we looked at the original plat, there was a fee of $13,800, which was negotiated with the Parks Commission and City Council. And staff has agreed to honor this prior decision. The applicant agreed to increase the cash payment because there's more, instead of 20 units from the prior proposal, there's now 26. So they've offered to increase that parks fee up to $17,000. And that will be required at the time of subdivision plat recording. Staff concludes that the plat is consistent with the city's vision for 38th Avenue and the mixed-use zoning. We further conclude that the requirements of Article 4 of the subdivision regulations in Chapter 26 have been met, and that all responding agencies can serve the property with improvements at the developer's expense. Therefore, we are recommending approval. We did include, I believe it was maybe four conditions of approval in the recommended motion for approval that we would ask that be contained within that motion. So that would conclude staff comments. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Alan, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Meredith, thanks for the presentation. So for the interior lane, that private lane, Wheat Ridge Fire has indicated that that needs to be maintained as a fire lane. In terms of the width that's going to be dedicated and the width on the ingress and egress areas, is that going to allow for, is that going to demand a one-way type of situation internally, or is it wide enough for two-way?
Let me go back to the, actually, if you look at the way this drive area is situated, it really does accommodate primarily one-way traffic in, and then to circulate around and exit out of the southern drive.
Okay.
The minimum for the easement is 20 feet. I do know that the fire district is requesting 26 feet clear to clear between structures. So we continue to refine what exactly they need to see.
Okay. Since it will be maintained as a fire lane, I'm assuming that means there's no parking. No parking is going to...
Primarily, there will be a row of parallel spaces along the north side of the detention pond. I think enough for, I believe, five parallel spots.
Okay.
Sort of insets into this area, Tract A.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Amanda, do you have any questions? Dick, do you have?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. It sticks in my mind that there is a limit on how many dwelling units can be on a private drive. Do you remember what that rule is?
Well, we do have a provision in the subdivision regulations that for single-family home development, we allow up to 4 units on a private drive. That's usually a flag lot type of situation where you've got a single row of homes with just a single drive that extends up one side of it. This is a little bit different, and we wouldn't apply that standard in this situation.
So that's 10 single-family homes on 2 private drives, or 5 per private drive.
I guess I'm not following your...
There's 10 units on the interior.
Well, actually, all of the units have access from the looped interior drive. The row of townhouses along 38th Avenue does not have access to 38th. All of the access will be interior. So in this situation, these units along 38th will front onto 38th and then have driveways and garages that go into their private parking.
How much parking will be required per dwelling unit?
The way the mixed-use zoning is set up, there is a minimum and a maximum. The minimum number of spaces is 1 per unit. The maximum is 2.5 per unit. They do allow us to count street parking, and actually I've got the numbers back at my station, so hold on a second. All of the individual units do have their own garage spaces. So what I came up with, let's see, is with the mixed-use zoning, between 26 and 65 spaces would be required. I have 44 garage spaces, 5 surface parking spaces with the overflow adjacent to the detention pond, and then we are also allowed to count street parking, which both 38th Avenue and Depew will have street parking as well.
Steve, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you for your presentation. So with the MUN neighborhood zone district, there's no, I don't say there's no, the density proposed to the number of lots meet the requirements in that district. Is that correct?
They do. With the MUN zoning, in this particular case, they are allowed to follow our maximum density in the city charter, which is 21 units per acre. What they're proposing is 26 units on 1.4 acres. So, I mean, if they wanted to max it out, they could go a couple higher, but they do meet. Now, in some of our other mixed-use areas where we've lifted the charter density and height restrictions, density could go much higher, but not in the MUN along 38th Avenue.
And then I realize that we're here to review the subdivision, but I also know that zoning and site plan issues are important.
Sure.
Can you explain for us what the process is for the site plan review, and has that been submitted
Yes.
concurrently?
It has. The plat was submitted first, and then they came in with the site development plan. The zoning is already in place. That was part of the city-initiated zoning in 2010. The subdivision you're reviewing tonight and will go to city council. All of the site development review, though, is administrative. So we've done our first set of comments, and we're waiting for a resubmittal. It is consistent with what's being shown on the plat, and they do meet all of the standards listed in the mixed-use zoning.
There are a couple of lots that are quite small, 15 feet, lot 2, lot 6, lot 10, et cetera. I guess from a staff perspective, you've seen the elevations, you've seen the garage, 15 feet is wide enough.
For a
And
single
we can
car.
talk to the applicant about that, but.
Sure.
But from the city's standpoint, code perspective, that 15 feet is satisfactory?
It is, and the interesting thing about it is the prior approval, the 2002 approval, which I did not include in your packet, I think there were, I'd have to go back and count the number, but there were, I believe, 10 units with 15-foot widths. So this is, only has 3, with the rest of the units being substantially larger than that. Okay, I'm wrong, 6. 1, 2, 3.
Some on the interior.
Yes, correct.
Do you know, and this may be a question for the applicant, the reason for the differing heights of the lots?
Okay, well, I would defer that.
Okay. The tree lawn on 38th, and
Yes.
then the landscaped area there on Depew and 38th, is that going to be maintained long-term by the city or by the applicant long-term?
Excuse me. The tree lawn along 38th that we're looking at right now is in an easement that the city does maintain. Along Depew Street, what they've got, let's see. They have an existing attached walk. There will be another tree lawn and another separated sidewalk, and those will be all within private property maintained by the homeowners association.
Do you know off the top of your head, the property to its south and the property across Depew, the apartments, do you know the approximate density or dwelling units an acre on those?
My recollection, and if you've driven down that street, it seems, it's a series of what I would call C courts, where you've got the building that kind of runs along the side and the rear property lines with parking in the interior. My recollection of research on that is they're all at about 21 units per acre.
That is all I have at this time. Thank you.
I have just a question or two.
Sure.
So on your statement that the fire department has asked for 26 feet clear to clear between structures, that's the actual building, not,
Correct.
okay. So when I'm looking at the small street that's marked, I believe at 20 feet, that means, see, it says 10 feet, 10 feet. That means that an additional 3 feet of lot on each side has to be clear.
Correct.
And explain clear. No mailboxes, no bushes, no trees, no.
Right. And if you recall, actually, if it's okay with the applicant, I'd like to go ahead and show the site plan. Okay.
Is the site plan part of our
It's
consideration?
not part of your packet, but I included it because I knew there were questions about how that was all going to lay out. Let's see. So if you look at the site plan, you've got the 20 feet.
Can you go big?
I can't go big.
No, at the bottom. Just go to full screen.
Oh, I'm
Slideshow.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the most part, if you look along this row of the townhouses or row houses that are adjacent to 38th Avenue, where I'm pointing to right now is I guess the rear wall, and you've got all of them have a little approach, so that increases the width from side to side. We're going to have to look a little bit more closely at some of these down here with the landscaping on the sides, but definitely keep working with the fire district to make sure they've got what they need to be able to serve it. Also, because we've got street frontages on two sides, they're able to fight fires also from 38th Avenue and Depew Street.
Okay. But again, with the 26 feet, the clear means just no obstruction for a truck to hit or anything to that extent, right?
Well, and I think if you're driving a fire truck and there's a curb, you go over it.
Right, curb, I get it. I get curb, okay. And then you had mentioned that there's 2 curb cuts on 38th Avenue? Right. Do those have to be vacated in some?
Well, no, they're not dedicated as any sort of public way. They would need to be closed and filled in with curb and gutter to match the rest of the street improvements. But if you look at the design, there's really no place for a car to be able to pull in. We do have
I just didn't know if they needed to be vacated.
No.
Okay, I have questions of the applicant.
Okay.
But does anybody have any follow-on? No, thank you. Thanks for your presentation.
Let's-
So, does the applicant want to present? Okay, when you come up, if you could give your first and last name, spell your last name, and an address, please. Thank you.
My name is Richard Onslager. The last name is spelled Oneslager. My address is 4041 Nassau Circle West, Inglewood, Colorado 80113.
Thank you. Did you have a presentation, or did you just want to answer questions, or what did you want to do? How
I
can
think
we
probably
help?
the best course of action is for me to give you just a quick 1 or 2 minute overview on my ownership of the property and kind of our vision for it. And then we have the home builder with us tonight that's going to build these townhomes and has been really the driving force and the lot layout and all the particulars, Kevin Puccio with Newtown Builders. And my guess is that he's going to be able to answer the more technical and specific questions that you have on this plat. So,
Okay, thank you.
so I'll just tell you real quickly, I purchased this property kind of when Meredith was talking about 2002 on our mixed use plan. I think I've owned this property for about 14 years now, which is a little bit frightening when I think about how long I've had it. But we bought the property originally to build a gas station on the property. That was our family business. And really kind of figured out pretty quickly that the last thing 38th Avenue needed was another gas station. So we looked at some alternatives, even looked at something as unappealing as a laundromat convenience store combination with affordable housing units, and eventually moved to the mixed-use plan that was approved in 2002, which was 8,000 square feet of commercial space and 20 residential units. We were unable to get that built primarily because there wasn't enough demand for that 8,000 square feet of commercial space. There was an interest in the residential units, but there was not enough demand for the rent and a rental rate that would justify new construction. So we shelved that and just kind of parked the project for a period of time. Over time, always kind of staying engaged with Wheat Ridge 2020 and just kind of monitoring what was going on in the corridor. The city made the commitment to make the streetscape improvements and started identifying 38th Avenue as a Main Street corridor, which piqued our interest. And then going to some of the meetings over the past couple of years, they really started talking about taking 38th Avenue and breaking it down into 3 smaller sections and not really thinking about, trying to think of it as one big monolith and how to impact the whole thing, but to break it into smaller bites. And it was in one of those meetings that talking about the gaps in the corridor and the lack of retail and restaurant and what people can and will afford or willing to pay in rent, that I really realized that the challenge is we really need more rooftops. The retail will always follow the rooftops, and if the customers are there, the retail will follow. And we had a little bit backwards when we were trying to add more retail square footage on our first project. What I think 38th Avenue needs, and what was really part of the city's vision, is more strong households. And about that time, we were introduced to Newtown Builders, looked at some projects they had done out at Stapleton, and I thought, wow, that really is just what we think the neighborhood needs. We're fortunate that we have a project that I think can lure some of those buyers that are in West Highlands across Sheridan Boulevard to the west and into Wheat Ridge, and the types of new homeowners that we're looking to attract. We've managed to put together a project that meets all the technical requirements as required under city code, which is always a little bit of a challenge, but more importantly, I think it kind of meets the vision of what Wheat Ridge wants this 38th Avenue corridor to be. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about our partnership with Newtown Builders. They're a highly respected builder here in Denver, and I think with that, I will probably turn it over to Kevin Puccio with Newtown, and then he can probably answer most of your questions, and I'm still right here if you have any questions that are particular to my ownership. Or
Did anybody have any questions of the applicant? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Same drill, first name, last name, spell the last name. Thank you.
My name is Kevin Puccio, Puccio. I live at 3862 Winona Court in Denver, Colorado, and I represent Newtown Builders.
So did you have a presentation, or did you just want to answer questions?
I'm
Are you
happy
ready?
to just answer questions.
Okay, so we'll start this side. Steve?
I do have a couple of questions, please. Again, realizing that the scope of the Planning Commission and subdivisions, however, also realizing that there was no neighborhood meeting required, and so I know that people, including those watching, have questions. Elevations of this, are we able to just see those out of curiosity? Are those available? Sure. And then while she's doing that, I know you've probably done some type of pro forma, right, for this particular lot. What is the expected price point for these units?
Right now, the expected price point for there's a variety of sizes.
Sure.
There's 3 different unit types ranging from almost 1,200 square feet up to about 1,650. Price points will be from the mid-2s to low to mid-3s.
Okay. And then a question I asked for staff earlier, you have mostly these 3-story townhomes, these row homes, right? But then you have a couple of single family. What was the rationale in terms of that layout, I guess?
They're not exactly single family. It's 2 duplex units, and the reason for that is because under Colorado state law Title IX requirements, anytime you're adding townhome units, there's a requirement to add accessible units as well. So in order to meet the accessibility requirements by the state, we've added 2 essentially main floor master fully accessible ADA units So that's the rationale for it.
Okay. And then my final question is related, phasing of the project. Obviously, if you receive approval, when are you looking at phase one? And then is there any complications with kind of the builder defect law that's out there right now, and would that complicate this project at all?
I would hope it would not complicate this project. It is an issue. The defect litigation is always an issue with multifamily. We have built multifamily throughout the metro area over the last really probably starting 10 years ago, and have not had any issues with defect litigation. I'm sorry.
The phasing of the project, yeah.
The way we envision it is to start with the corner of 38th and Depew with a fourplex right there. It represents all the different units in one building type, where we could sufficiently model and have a good marketing window and help immediately address the streetscape.
Great. No further questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dick?
Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the subdevelopment, but those 15-foot wide lots, those will have tandem garages.
I'm sorry now?
They'll have tandem garages, the front and back garages.
They'll have single car garages.
Single car garages.
Yes. Every other unit has 2-car.
Amanda? You're good? I have a couple questions. I'm all about micro development, but I'm having a real heartache with 15-foot lot. That's a 14-foot house, effectively, which is the length of a VW Bug. Literally, 14-foot, that's how long a Volkswagen Beetle is. Since you've built these units before, so I've heard on the other side of town, how many of those are owner-occupied housing that you know of, and how many of them become rentals?
I can only speak anecdotally. I don't absolutely know the numbers, but I do, in my capacity of Newtown, I also run all of our HOAs until they're turned over to the community. So I have a pretty good feel for the people that move into these units. And I would say, and I don't know specifically about the 15-foot wide units, but we've built a mix of these 22, 20s, and 15s throughout Stapleton. We've probably, and as well as some other areas in the Denver region, I would say less than 10% end up in renters' hands. Most of them are sort of the entry point for home ownership, and they typically stay that way.
Okay. As far as the private drive being a fire lane, that means that nothing can obstruct. And while we haven't seen the full plan, and we're not considering the full plan tonight, the concern for me is snow removal, as well as, because you can't by law push the snow into the street, as well as trash, waste, as well as parking. And I realize that we've met the staff and you, the applicant, have met the criteria by utilizing street plus the parallel parking, which is not a consideration on what we're looking at tonight. But are you comfortable that all of that, especially since last year we got almost 80 inches of snow, will be taken care of within the property boundary?
We have thought of snow removal and waste collection. It will be private waste collection, where the homeowners will bring their trash bin out the night before collection or the morning of collection. Snow removal will, I'm sorry. Sure, I'm sorry. Snow removal is always an issue in infill sites. If we can go to the site plan. I think I have it here.
That's the drainage report.
Okay, here, I'll let you do that.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, okay. This.
That'll work.
Meredith, can you go big on that again? Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's just awesome. Thank you.
Sure. The snow removal, obviously the parking is in this area right here, and it's outside of the 26-foot clear. And the snow removal is anticipated probably to end up on the this area along the western boundary of the site. And what was your other concern? I'm sorry, parking, snow removal, and waste collection?
Yeah. So if the snow is piled up in that corner, is there consideration of drainage so it doesn't start draining into the adjacent properties?
I believe, would you like to, Henry? Yeah, I'd like to.
Sure. Come on up.
Let our civil engineer handle that one.
Hi.
Hello, Henry Hollander. I'm the civil engineer of the project. Live at 9201 West Tennessee Avenue in Lakewood.
Thank you.
The drainage from those two areas is towards the street, so it won't block drainage leaving the street. If snow is piled up there, it'll drain towards the street.
Towards 38th, or Depew. I'm sorry.
Well, towards the towards the access road.
Okay, towards Depew. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, then from there, it all drains into the pond, which is in the center of the property.
Right,
There's a
and then
detention pond.
does that drain above ground? I know it's
Yeah,
just
it's all above ground.
It's all above ground. It'll drain towards.
Yeah, it's all
Depew.
graded, and it was very difficult to do with all the constraints, but it's all graded around the two sides towards where that parking area is, and then into the detention pond
Okay.
on the surface.
Okay. And I just have one other question. I'm not trying to design on the dais, but I'm trying to understand the logic of having 26 units on here versus a couple fewer.
Honestly, it was simply a matter of the site constraints with the size of the parcel. And also, to your question about 15-foot wide units, this mix that we've got here, I believe we have, I think it's 22, either 20 or 22-foot wide units and 6 of the smaller units. It's really just to meet market demands. We found that in Stapleton, which is mainly where we build the similar product, that there is definitely a demand for the smaller 2-bedroom, typically when it comes to price point.
Okay.
But that's only 6 out of the 28.
Yeah.
But it was mostly it was all once we factored in the mix of unit types, while providing the wider units necessary for the ADA, providing open space and detention. This layout seemed to meet the constraints of the site, but also take advantage of the frontage along 38th, which was sort of where we started our design intent, was to front along 38th and along Depew, and to provide a green court in the center of the development.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure.
Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, next we hear from the public. Do we have a list? I'm willing to take names. Yes, absolutely, but nobody signed up? Okay. So, if anybody would like to speak, come on up, please. First name, last name, address. Thank you.
My name is Billy Lang. I live at 3702 Eaton Street, so just around the back. This is zoned mixed use. I heard you talk about in the previous iterations there was some space for commercial. Is there any commercial in this at all? And, well, that's the first question, I guess. There's not. So there's no commercial in this?
Talk to us.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
There's no commercial in this at all?
None.
How does that then meet the mixed use requirement?
Well, mixed use can mean a lot of different things. It sort of depends on the site size. This particular one and this stretch of 38th Avenue is more residential in nature. if we were on the Wadsworth corridor, we might truly be able to see a mixed use where we'd have retail or bank on the bottom and residential on the top floor. So it does allow, the mixed use in general allows anything from single family to two family to multifamily to office to restaurant to whatever. This particular site, though, is probably too small, which is why it didn't work the first time. The other thing that is a constraint is in the mixed use neighborhood along this stretch, residential units are limited to 35 feet, so there's really not a lot of room to put commercial on the bottom and then have something above it.
Yeah, that's my only concern with the neighborhood, because walking distance, one of the big nice things about a mixed-use plan is that it's easy walking to two places and, of business, and by adding, you only have so many vacant areas for development in this area, and to take one of them and make it all housing, makes the walk for people like myself quite a bit longer. And so, right now it's either walk over to King Soopers or, the 7-Eleven right there. And so it was our hope to see a little bit, at least some commercial development included in the plan. And that was pretty much all I want to say. So
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Come on up. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Maria Oliveras, and I live at 3810 Depew Street. And the questions that I have, I'm not real clear by looking at that, whether it's 2 levels or
Talk
are
to
they all 2 levels?
we can try to answer.
Okay.
Or
Actually, because of the size of the units, they're taking advantage of that height limitation of 35 feet. So the row houses are going to be pretty tall. What would you say, 2.5 stories, including the garage-ish? And then the two on the south side, which are the accessible units, are more like 1 story in height.
How long will it take? When will you start?
I don't know. Let's ask the builder.
sure. Go up there.
We are anticipated, assuming that everything goes well with approvals, we are planning on starting on-site development in the first quarter of next year, and immediately following with the first fourplex.
So you mentioned Stapleton. Now, where else have you guys built that I would know about? I mean, I'm familiar with Denver, and will they look like Stapleton, kind of sort of those urban-looking type of row homes with kind of nice colors and stuff?
The plans that we are intending to build on this site are very similar to what we have built at Stapleton. We have also built in Lafayette. We've built townhomes. We've built townhomes in Southeast Aurora. But most of it has been Stapleton. And this is going to be very similar to what's in Stapleton. However, understanding the design intent along 38th, obviously the colors and the brick and everything, we're intending to match what has already been put in place for the streetscape improvements along 38th Ave.
Just one more question, please. You mentioned the ones in Lafayette, and so I just sold a house in Lafayette, and I think I know the ones that you guys built. They're off of South Boulder Road, east of Public?
Yes.
On the west side?
The east side of South Public Road.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Oh, those are nice. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in. Come on up. So do me a favor. I kind of bent the rules there. You need to talk to us versus the applicant. It's okay. I let you. My fault. First name, last name, address, please.
Mary Broyles, Broyles, address 5700 through 5712 West 38th Avenue. So that is to the west of the property. And my concern just came up with the conversation about snow, places to pile the snow. And I see that the southwest part of the property would actually be very close to a triplex that I have. And I'm not sure that the drainage really would move away toward Depew rather than to my property. And that would be my only concern. And would I have recourse if it turned out that I was getting water, you know, because we get a 6-foot pileup on the west side of our property, and the drainage is really awful.
Staff? Hello.
Hi, Mark Westberg, Public Works Department. The drainage design has got everything but the part that's immediately adjacent to 38th Avenue and some of the fronts of the roofs all draining to the interior of the site. So it's all been designed to drain and grade that way, and it all goes to the pond. So, you know, certainly if they pile up the snow and it goes off the site, then that becomes a concern. But as long as they pile the snow such that it stays on the site, the water's all going to drain onto into the pond, which is where we want it all to go.
Okay. So it was just recourse if, you know,
If it doesn't drain.
if it doesn't actually do that.
Yeah, if it doesn't, call us and we'll go out and take care of it.
All right. Thank you.
We'll go flog somebody.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Is there anybody else? Anybody else that wants to speak? If not, then I will close the public hearing. Do you want to stick around and hear the vote? Okay. Okay. So, discussion? Discussion?
I just wanted to say that I have lived in a 15-foot wide house, and it's actually really fun. But that's beside the point. But I did want to sort of reiterate what you said about it being an entry-level ownership kind of thing. Certainly, I'm the kind of person who would buy a home like that, in that it's at a lower price point, and when you're a single person, that's a great. I think that's typically what it has been at Stapleton as well. So I just wanted to sort of say that.
Ellen?
I would echo what Commissioner Weaver said. I think 15 feet is doable. I've seen it held up as an example of good, smart, smaller building, and I think this mix of narrower and wider lots here in the plat, reflects a nice mix. I do also like the fact that this plat divides things up into these 4-lot sections. I think it'll make it more buildable and feasible. I think my questions about the fire lane width have been addressed. I do think it will be something to watch with the HOA. I really think one way is kind of the only way to go in terms of traffic flow, but obviously that's something, since it's privately maintained, will have to be addressed in the HOA documents. But other than that, I think it's a nice plan.
Dick, Steve?
I'd just like to comment that I particularly like the little corridors with the walkways that connect the interior flow to 38th Avenue. That is a particularly nice feature. But I would sure like to hear what our thinking of the chair is on this matter.
While I'm a big supporter of development, and I'm a very big supporter of micro-development, I'm not going to vote yes on this one. I don't think that Wheat Ridge can support 15-foot lots and have a sustainable development. I can't. I'm concerned about the fire lane, and one of the public brought up a good point. that there is no mixed use in this. And that was the whole intent of mixed-use neighborhood. It's a good point, and by doing that, we're cramming a lot of units on here. I walked the lot a lot, while, in fact, I was going to walk the lot when I saw the sign going up with the car. Somebody had their truck lights on while you were posting the sign up, and I was going to go and walk the lot, and I decided I better not when they were posting the sign. But I walked a lot. I tried to get a feel for it. It kind of astonished me that one of the lots would be the width or the length of a VW Beetle, exactly 14 feet. I can't support it, and normally I support good development. Clearly, my other chairman or my other people on the commission feel good about it, so that's fine. That's it. So I'll call for a
I have a motion.
motion. Thank you.
I move to recommend approval of case number WS-13-02, a request for approval of a 26-lot major subdivision plat for property located at 5670 West 38th Avenue for the following reasons. The proposed plat is consistent with the city's vision for 38th Avenue and MUN zoning. All requirements of the subdivision regulations have been met. Utility districts can serve the property with improvements installed at the developer's expense with the following conditions. Condition 1, property addresses be added to sheet 2 of the plat document prior to recordation. Condition 2, the developer pay parks fees at the time of plat recording in the amount of $17,000. Condition 3, a note with signature block be added onto sheet 1 as requested by Wheat Ridge Sanitation District. And condition 4, the homeowners association covenants be reviewed and approved by staff.
Do we have a second? Second. Please vote.
I'm sorry, can I
yeah,
just comment on the thing, since everyone else did? I actually, as someone who lives in close proximity to this development, or this proposed development, I'm actually in favor of it, and I will be supporting it. I do think this is going to be a positive future, I guess. This site's been empty for too long and vacant for too long. Keeping to the citizens' point about the mixed use, I'm actually hopeful that this density can help spur on some other commercial and retail in that area. There's actually too many empty retail and commercial sites in that portion of 38th Avenue, and so anything we can do to help spur on some increased activity, I think this could very much support that. So I will be strongly supporting this.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0, with Commissioner Brinkman voting no. I'm sorry, 4-1. My apologies. Commissioner Brinkman voting no.
So what's the plan for this? What's the next step? Which is scheduled for?
Sorry. It is scheduled, I believe, for November 18th.
Okay. Thank you. Congrats, guys. Now we will move to other items.
Staff really doesn't have any other items. Hopefully, okay. Just a couple things, housekeeping matters. For those of you who went to the Boards and Commissions dinner, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did not, did we bring your city swag, which is kind of cool? It's a cooler. So that's one thing. We're going to be back here on November 21st, right, Mark?
Yeah, November 21st, we're going to come see you all about a floodplain ordinance revisions that we're taking to City Council. We're going to go back on November 18th to a study session with them, immediately followed by seeing you on the 21st, going to City Council on first reading on December 9th, and then for second reading on January 13th. We have a deadline of January 14th to adopt some new state regulations, so we're squeaking in.
What's the deadline?
The January 14th, the day after City Council, we go to City Council for second reading. There is going to be, I'll put a plug in for our open house on October 23rd. We're going to have an open house at the rec center at from 5 to 7 on October 23rd, which is next Wednesday night, to talk to folks about floodplains and the impacts of some new federal regulations that came in 2012 and some different things like that. So we sent out a mailing to everybody that has a property in the floodplain currently, and those that are in now and are going out, and those that are out and are coming in, and all those. It was very complicated. We only messed up 74 letters, so we felt pretty good about that.
So were the floodplain changes pretty drastic?
The floodplain in some areas, the actual map change is fairly drastic. We've been using the new maps since 2008. We adopted them as a city in 2008, so that part hasn't changed. It's just FEMA's now going to be adopting those. So, we currently have 181 floodplain policies, and that number very well could double if everybody that gets brought in is going to now have a policy. So we'll come and we'll talk about this a whole lot more on the 21st, but just wanted to give you a heads up so you can all plan your calendars to be here. I'm a little enthusiastic about it. Just a little.
For those of us that don't have a calendar in front of us, isn't Thanksgiving late?
The next week. Thanksgiving's the next week.
Thanksgiving's the next
Yep.
week.
Yep.
Cool. What else do we have on
That's all I got.
Just one more thing. We've gone to our new format, which is using the 17 by 11, or 11 by 17 inch plan. Yes, thank you. Were people okay with that? Were you able to tell what was going on? Okay, so that's going to be our new format as we move towards
Yeah, it was good.
sustainability. So.
Well, you could turn.
But you can manipulate it in PowerPoint to be able to zoom in.
We'll look into that. We'll get one of our young punks on it.
Or you can make it into a PDF, and then you can.
Or we could just have some things in PDF, because like this is really hard to,
Right.
even at full screen, really
Okay.
hard to.
We'll take that under advisement.
With the young punks.
Yes. Which is not me or him.
I have a question. So we have several members that are potentially maybe in different capacities. When is the new council seated? Do you know that approximately?
November 18th is when they're planning on swearing in.
Okay.
They don't have their regular meeting on the 11th, which is the meeting right after the election because of Veterans Day. And so their next meeting would be November 25th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. So they've canceled that meeting. They've moved that meeting to the 18th and made that a combination regular council meeting and study session. I know because my floodplain thing's on the study session part.
Okay. Just for the record, I will be out of the country on the 18th, so I will not be here.
So do we have to have a quorum? I mean, because.
Well, it's on a study session item, no, but on a public hearing, we need a quorum, which would be 5 out of 8.
For the floodplain?
For the zoning ordinance amendment, yes.
So being Pollyanna and looking at the glass 3/4 full usually, if Dick isn't here and Monica isn't here and Steve isn't here, it'll be close. Huh? Right.
So can we get Steve here on like video chat or something?
Telecommute from Vietnam.
It'll be like 7 in the morning there, but it's okay.
We'll look at dates. We definitely have to go to
I know.
Planning Commission before City Council.
Yeah, I know that, but
If we had to go into December, that wouldn't be so bad, Mark.
Yeah, we have a backup date with you guys, which is if we go to the 18th to on November 18th to City Council and something blows up there, our backup date is to cancel seeing you on the 21st and seeing you on December 7th or 5th or something like that, whatever that Thursday, 5th. Thanks. So we do have a backup date of December 5th if the 21st doesn't work out. We're just trying to not use up all of our slack in our schedule.
yeah, it's possible. Maybe Kim can reach out to everybody ahead of time and find out what the schedules are around that.
And we might know on November 5th what the status of 2 of the commissioners is.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. So we know Steve's out. You think, yeah.
Cancel your trip, Steve, come on.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. So is there anything else that we're hearing? Any, nothing?
We have a lot of stuff in the hopper, but no public hearings right now.
Anything on light? Anything regarding light? I'm going to grow old. Fair enough. Meanwhile, the lighting it continues. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. Okay, well, with that, can I have somebody?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Please vote. Thank you, guys. Have a good